Hello and welcome to Chat Cave Podcast, where we walk you through scene by scene of a movie and give our opinion on the scene and the movie in general. I'm your host, John King Thomas Hughes.
And today we're joined by Connor and also me as well. Hi.
Big Connor, hello.
Yeah, Connor's about to lose his podcast virginity.
Special guest.
Oh yeah, he's losing something.
Oh.
Mr. Zenithfire 98 himself.
Oh.
Currently wearing his shining t-shirt
Mm-hmm.
with a shining background, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully it's on there.
Obviously, Hayden, you just got to be the one that feels left out right now because you're not shining related, are you?
No, but to be honest, I don't give a shit.
He has the shine in there. Oh, sorry.
I was wondering what that voice was in my head. Just it's just
Yeah,
Hayden getting to me.
Definitely. Wasn't your voice in your mouth?
Shh.
Spoiler alert.
That's a different kind of film, but also the same film.
There's got to be a shine in porno, isn't there?
Oh, literally, a few minutes in already, he's talking about porn.
And you wonder why I resort to conversations like this when I'm around Connor. Anyway, so today we're discussing. You guys ready?
Yeah.
The Shining.
Shining.
That was so off sync. That's going to be great.
Insert
Amazing.
right here.
Shining. Professionalism, honestly.
Yeah, obviously The Shining was released in 1980. 40 years to this year. And I'm presented this month as well.
Jesus.
By the late director Stanley Kubrick. The visionary mind behind A Clockwork Orange, 2001: A Space Odyssey, Spartacus, and Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah.
The movie is loosely based on the Stephen King book of the same name. Very loosely, I will say.
Yeah.
Never read the screenplay.
Even the room, is different.
Everything's different. He's changed pretty much everything in this movie, other than the fact that the characters. That's it.
I would say literally everything was changed. Just for most of it was for the Apollo 13 stuff.
That is pretty much obviously why Stephen King just hates this movie.
It's not even his book at this point.
I know it's just pretty much Stanley Kubrick's interpretation of Stephen King's work.
It's ironic because there's so many interpretations of the actual fucking film.
Exactly. Simpsons, South Park. There's got to be fucking how many other shows that have done this.
It's a fucking documentary and all the theories.
I feel like people hate it as well. Stephen King hates it for the fact that he did way better than his book.
Oh.
Like a huge part. I mean, more people follow the film than the book. When they're talking about The Simpsons for a start, that's huge.
True, yeah. The film itself is quite iconic.
The thing is, though the Simpsons one did follow the movie more, the whole idea of Homer being not insane straight away does follow the book more. Because you look at fucking Jack Nicholson and he just screams craziness.
Yeah, especially the whole what we find out that happened between him and his son when he got a bit drunk, shall we say?
Yeah. But anyway, so as I said, the movie stars Jack Nicholson from Batman, obviously one of his most iconic roles he is, obviously apart from this, of course. Wolf, Mars Attacks, another Tim Burton movie, and I don't know, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I'm only saying that because it's
my favourite film with him in.
What, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
The Shining, yeah.
I only put that in because I did that Netflix series based on it recently, so I just thought, fuck it, link that in.
Throw it in there.
The movie also stars Shelley Duvall, who starred in the movie adaptation of Popeye with Robin Williams.
Terrible.
As well as the movie Casper Meets Wendy, the prequel to the Casper movie they did.
Didn't even know.
As well as then, the movie also stars the late Scatman Crothers, who Connor's got some theories about in a bit. He played Jazz in the original Transformers series and the movie adaptation, which I didn't know. And I was listening to his voice, and this was like, okay, yes, it does sound like Jazz. He was in the Twilight Zone movie, and he also voiced the main character Hong Kong Phooey in the series. Which even if I listen to it, I still can't fucking tell it's him. But
I have zero recollection of what Hong Kong Phooey is.
You know, it's that one with the dog that does Kung Fu.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I do get it. Yeah.
I just tried that in because it's Hanna-Barbera and Hayden's Scooby-Doo craze.
Fucking great films they do.
10 out of 10.
The movie focuses on a family that heads to an isolated hotel during the winter to keep an eye on the place, but little do they know this sinister presence is also lurking in the hotel that begins to drive the father insane. And it's not a supernatural base like the book.
Or is
It's
it?
just Jack Nicholson is going
There are
crazy.
some bits though.
It is supernatural.
There are some bits that are supernatural. I mean, like the whole Shining part, and there is a ghost.
Yeah, but a lot of that ghost stuff is just in his mind. It's not really supernatural based.
Yeah, I mean, there's one scene.
If you read into it, a lot of it is just straight up.
There's one scene though, Tom, where
the door
obvious thing. Yeah, that's the most obvious ghost one.
Obviously, yeah, but I mean, a lot of the other things is just straight up in his head. I was doing a lot of reading into like stuff about it.
Are you talking about the blowjob bear one?
No, not that bit.
Because
that also is another example because she saw it, not him.
To be fair, they all went crazy though, so it could be just like they've all gone insane.
I say obviously the Olsen twins as well is a huge part. And obviously Doc sees that.
They weren't actually in the book. They were just mentioned. They were never actually seen in the book. So another thing they fucking changed. Obviously to the better in this version. It's obviously one of the most iconic moments.
Yeah, I mean we've all seen Stewie Griffin run him over.
Shoots him.
Yeah, okay. We've gone on for long enough for this intro, so let's get straight into this.
Wait, talking about long intros. Here we go.
Oh god. Make it longer.
We're gonna match the movie intro. That took about 10 minutes, right?
The music gets more ominous as the car like drives through.
But yeah,
I swear that car looks exactly like the fucking car that he's in Mr. Bean. I was imagining him like doing the finger thing.
Yeah, I'm just imagining
everyone.
You know, the little 3-wheeler blue car like drives past, goes off the cliff.
He's falling.
You just hear the music playing as he crashes down the cliff. Boom, boom.
Okay, so
they are some nice shots though, gotta admit.
Yeah, the movie opens with some very stunning shots as the camera just follows this car. Obviously goes over the lake, like over these mountainsides, and then obviously follows this, as you say, Mr. Bean looking car.
That'd be like helicopter shots as well, due to the time, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Good
now it'd
shots.
probably just be like crane shots, maybe. Or
drone shots. Drones, yeah.
But obviously back then it probably would have been a helicopter. Obviously they didn't need the same because it was just that bomb on the top of it. And obviously it follows this car before we obviously it reaches the hotel, and we get the title card of The Interview, because what is this? A Quentin Tarantino movie?
Yeah, it is apparently.
We are then introduced to the driver, which is obviously Mr. Jack Torrance, played by Jack Nicholson. Ironically, they go with a lot of characters and actors with the same fucking names.
Yeah,
Jack and Jack, Danny and Danny. But yeah, he tells the woman at the front desk that he has an interview with a Mr. Ullman. So he's sent down the corridor to his office, where he meets obviously Ullman and his secretary. Have a little meet and greet. Hello. What's all this then? And
hello. What's going on in here? Give me the blowjob.
They obviously asked Jack how long it took him to get here. He says it's been like 3.5 hours, I think he said, which is actually apparently like a decent time for getting up there. So great timing, Jack, for putting your foot down.
Thanks, Jack.
We then
for us it felt like longer.
Yeah, exactly.
It took us fucking 3 hours to get through the intro.
Think of the full version, like it's the entire journey.
Yeah, just extended cut. It's just the whole journey up.
Well, the extended cut is just a few extended scenes, which is ironically the original cut, but he cut it down when it didn't do well in America. It didn't obviously get the popularity, so he cut it down to a shorter version for obviously everywhere else, which is the one obviously we got. But then he ends up releasing the extended version anyway with the stuff back in. But he apparently still states the short version was his better and more to his vision.
Because
if that's the case, why the fuck did he make the fucking long version?
Maybe he wanted to, like, money.
Yeah,
maybe
more sales.
You want that?
Yeah, we then cut to our next stars, Wendy Torrance, played by Shelley Duvall, and her son Danny, as I said, already played by, Danny.
Hey.
He questions his mom about going to the hotel for, staying up there for the winter. He's like, I don't really want to go. Do we have to do that? And she's like, oh, no, it's be fine. She's like, why are you saying this? He's like, oh, Tony doesn't want to go. And she questions Tony. He's like, hello, Mr. Torrance. Which is Danny's finger, but it's also a voice in his mouth.
Oh, yeah.
It's fucking weird.
Hello, I don't want to go up there.
I don't want to go with
See, I always thought, like, obviously because he's meant to have the power of the Shining.
Shining.
Is the power of the Shining just in his finger?
I don't.
Why is that a thing? Because
it's in his finger.
I don't actually know. I don't
Because,
think it's even ever explained in Doctor Sleep.
Because obviously the Shining, when you get told about it, he's like you can read other people's minds with the Shining, but like also is it about contacting the dead? But like he's just using his finger, so I don't get it. I've never understood the finger part. That's
Maybe because he's a kid and he's like that's how he comprehends it.
But like,
And when he gets older, it might like become more like Scatman.
yeah, no, he walks in Scatman's there with his finger out.
Hi, Tony. I'm Scatman.
Steve thinks obviously the finger kind of lends into this film being more of a comedy than fucking horror.
I don't think it's innately scary though. I think it's just off-putting. I think
this film's more of a psychological horror than like the type of horror Tom likes.
I don't get why. If you read a lot of reviews and people talk about it, they always say it's like, oh, the scariest film out there, but it's not. It's not even scary. It's just like fucks in the head.
It's like Joker. It's not a scary film, but it's really off-putting to watch.
Yeah, and exactly that is obviously fully not a horror movie. It's more obviously a comic book movie. Whereas it's obviously it's stated to be horror, but it's horror-esque, but it's not horror. Yeah, it then obviously you say delves more into the psychological side of horror. But I mean, it still isn't scary enough to be horror in my mind. It's more the psychological thriller in a sense, maybe, or psychological supernatural sort of along that line.
The only horrible thing is the old woman.
That and the bear noshing that geezer off.
I mean, if that's what you're into.
I mean, and the Olsen twins, I suppose. I feel like
they need to be more creepy.
I feel like they were just thrown in to have like there's something to be scared of.
Yeah, and something for him to be scared of as well.
Yeah, but they just got turned into more a joke. As you say, with the Stewie just running them over.
And then goes to
but yeah, so obviously we then cut back to Jack, this crazy looking motherfucker.
Smile.
I just don't know why they went with a crazy guy from the get-go. This is meant to be the same part of Jack's life, but he looks fucking crazy as hell. Yeah, obviously explains more about himself, like that he used to be a teacher, but he's now a writer. He then questions Ullman about why they would close the hotel for the winter, since it would be a great place to go skiing. It's fucking snowy as hell.
Yeah,
but Ullman's like, oh, it's just going to cost too much to keep it open. It's got to be closed. And it's like, oh, okay.
That bit never made any sense to me. He's like, oh, it's going to cost too much to keep it open, but literally they live in there and have the heating across the whole entire hotel on.
Yeah, a lot of food.
It was because of the roads, though. It's because it would have cost them a lot of money to keep the roads cleared so they can keep getting up. But obviously, say they brought people up and then cut it off. And okay, we're not going to actually clear these roads till, I don't know, Tuesday. Then obviously you can move down there. But
certain days for them to get up, or like even the fact that like if people want to stay on like extended breaks, they could have had that there. I don't get like the whole premise. They're not losing out on money. I mean, they're paying him to look after the hotel.
Exactly. So technically, they're still losing money.
They're losing money, but not losing as much, probably. But it's also stupid because they're making a lot more money.
Exactly.
But
his whole film is just up to interpretation by whoever's viewing it. Really.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff is just interpreted.
I mean, this could be an empty room. He's talking to himself.
Exactly. There could actually be no one there, for all we know.
Yeah.
Is there even a hotel?
I mean, there's a whole like time theory where it turns out he was in that picture the entire time. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. I mean,
there's a lot of theories about that though.
Yeah, there's a whole fucking documentary, so
It's a very weird. It's a very weird film.
Yeah.
Obviously,
And for the first time in this recording, let's get back to the film.
Oh yeah, Connor, that's Hayden's thing. She has to say back to this movie.
We're just gonna
Yeah,
go
because
back to this
seriously,
film. We both really go off topic a lot
Yeah.
of the time, so she always has to drag us back.
it's murky
Even though
time.
technically we're not going off topic, we're still Shining
I
talking.
know, but still, come on.
Just further down the
Yeah.
line, Shining
Not
talking.
massive,
Yeah.
But yeah, so Ormond obviously speaks about the isolation part of being up here. Obviously, how it can drive people a bit crazy. But Jack's like, "Oh no, I'll be fine," with that weird smile still on his face. I'll be all right. What about your family? Oh no, they'll be fine. It's like,
That'll be
did they tell you back in Denver? Was it Denver he was in? I think.
I
Or
think so.
Ask the expert.
Oh my god! Don't tell me it now.
Because he's like, "Oh, did I tell you back when obviously where he got the job from about what happened in the past?" And he's like, "No." And he's like, "Oh well, so this guy who was like a caretaker before, he kind of had like a family, 2 daughters and a wife, and he's perfectly this nice and stable guy, unlike Jack at the moment. But something happened to him, and he just snapped and then just murdered his family with an axe before blowing his brains out with a shotgun. Yeah, the usual thing. And Jack just sits there, that sort of smile on his face, like, oh. He's like, no, we'll be fine.
You'll be
Everyone will be
fine.
fine.
I'll be
scene
fine.
is like incredible. Like the fact that he's like, oh yeah, the guy was normal, he killed his family, but Jack sat there looking batshit insane. He's like, you're perfect for this job.
Yeah.
Like, he'd be the last person I'd hire.
This guy being crazy, but you're already crazy, so you should be fine.
That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to do the opposite of it.
Too negative, make a positive. He's fine.
Obviously, in this case, it does not work. But yeah, he's like, I'd be fine, especially because my wife likes these horror stories and whatnot, so she's gonna love this place. And then we cut back to Danny because a lot of cuts, again. And he's got Tony out again. Jack's got the job. He's like,
Dad's definitely got the job. He'll bring Mom in a minute.
And then next minute, obviously, they actually get the phone call. It's like, oh, you got the job? Yeah, I was going to be up here a bit late, so I'll be home later on. It's like, oh, okay. And then Danny starts having those really weird visions of the blood spitting out the elevator. Yeah. Another thing that wasn't actually shown in the book. That was all Kubrick.
But also still iconic.
Exactly. That's obviously Kubrick obviously had the mind of, make this film iconic by just destroying the book and do my own thing.
He could
just taking bits.
He's a genius, but also like he was very ruthless as well.
Yeah, if you read some of the stuff about, like, obviously, me and Connor were on about at work recently, the whole thing with Sherry Duvall, when he just kept putting pressure on.
And that's why.
And even the Scatman guy, that one scene later on with the bed, he just made him do it over and over again. And then when it comes to the next film he did, which was a Clint Eastwood movie, apparently, which he only ever does one take, pretty much. Apparently, he just broke down afterwards, after this take, because he was like, that just fucked me completely.
Apparently, the scene with him and Danny, apparently, wasn't that like over 100 times or something like that?
Something stupid like that.
Pretty much every scene was made. I feel like he did it to like actually get in their head to make it like seem like there's actually a situation.
Also, that he's much of a perfectionist. Like he wants everything to be perfect, and even if like the third take was amazing, he'd be like, "We'll do like 60 more."
Exactly. I think it was the Simpsons episode at some point. It wasn't anything to The Shining, but there's a scene at the end where the whole episode was meant to be like a TV show thing, and it cuts to sort of Kubrick going, "Nope, scrap that, do it again," and just chucks it away. So that sort of obviously shows how he actually was. Which obviously for this film, if you've seen a lot of his work, he's just crazy. Clockwork Orange, crazy. Eyes Wide Shut, crazy. Like, Shining, crazy.
All of his films that he's done, especially Clockwork Orange, that's like so iconic as well.
Oh my Clockwork, fucking hell!
I think it's just how weird it is. That's what draws people in. Like, whoa, what the fuck did I just watch?
Yeah.
Heck, he got banned over here for years.
I'm gonna say,
yeah. When it comes to, like in college, when you're learning about all of like the banned films and all of the ones that are the most craziest and off-putting films, Clockwork Orange is one of the ones that you always analyze.
It's definitely probably one of the weirdest films I've ever watched.
Yeah, probably.
It's up there with like Cannibal Holocaust. which is the most gruesome film you've ever seen in your life.
Never watched it.
Is that the one where like they're eating spiders and stuff and birds?
It's turtles,
Is it turtles?
and they
I know
actually
they're eating
kill the
something,
real life
yeah.
turtles on camera and eat them.
That one, that's not even like a. It's not really like a film. That's just like weirdness. Like,
It's a film that's designed to look like a real documentary,
yeah.
like Blair Witch, but it's even more real, which is horrifying. But yeah, now
Okay.
back to this
Bit-
movie.
So obviously he has his visions and passes out, and then we see him with the doctor. She's obviously checking on him, making sure he's okay, questioning him. She even eventually questions him about Tony. And it's like,
Yeah.
who's Tony? Obviously, eventually he's just like, oh, can we just ignore Tony? I don't want to talk about him. She's like, oh, okay. And obviously they're like, you stay in bed, and we're gonna go talk in the other room. So obviously they head off, and they talk about the fact that he's actually fine. It's just an episode. Kids have stuff like this, and it's not uncommon, and it's obviously not an issue. But if it happens again, obviously they'll get him checked out and whatnot. And she's like, "Oh yeah, that's okay, that's okay." Wendy obviously eventually sort of talks about Danny growing up, which leads to the conversation about when Tony started appearing, which was when he was in school, was it?
Yeah, I believe so.
He appeared then, and eventually she ends up letting slip about when Danny got injured.
Yeah.
The teacher's like, "Oh," the doctor's like, "Oh, okay. Can you elaborate on that?" She's like, "Oh, well, my husband was a bit drunk. Come home late, so he was already in a mood. Danny pissed him off, so he grabbed him by the arm, and it's something you do with kids all the time.
All the
But my
time.
husband just went,
This time, a little bit of extra force.
and he's popped his arm out of his sockets.
The usual, we've all
Yeah,
done
the
that.
usual.
I think he's such like she brings that up and acts like it's normal, but clearly bringing
Yeah,
it
no.
she's trying to blame it on the fact that might have caused like obviously the little finger thing. Like to me, that's what I was getting at. But then she's like, "Oh, it's normal." So hang on, why bring it up then?
She's got a good smile on her face at the same time as well. She's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, yeah, but the good thing about this, it stopped my husband from drinking." He's like, "I would never touch a drop again." And she's like, "Oh, he's been like 5 months sober now." She's still just got this smile on her face, talking about her husband popping up at her son's arm. Why would you smile during this story?
Yeah, but obviously it sets up that there's something wrong with
Jack
the entire time that kind of makes it when you see your breakdown, it's more obvious than isn't it? Like obviously it shows he has some terms of violence, and when you see him drinking again, shit's gonna get down.
But I feel like it shows like when I was watching it, I took the interpretation as well that like he was abusive to his wife. Because like the way was, like she's shaking stuff and smoking, and I was like, oh, maybe he's abusive to her. But then that's never brought up again until like obviously he's writing the thing, and she's like backing away from him because he's gonna hit her.
Yeah, it's almost like it started off with just emotional abuse, and then it's like evolving into physical,
pretty much
to murder. Sorry, red rum. Sorry.
Red rum.
We then cut
Tony.
We then cut to another Quentin Tarantino card, as this says closing day. So once again, they pan across this hillside, find the little yellow Mr. Bean car. But this time inside is the entire family. And while driving, Wendy brings up a story about people getting snowbound, which was the Donna family or something like that, was it?
Yeah.
Or Donna party. And Jack's like, oh no, it's a bit farther west. And Danny's like, oh, what's this all about then? And Jack's like, oh, well, it's just a bunch of settlers in the old times that are going up this hillside, and obviously they got snowed in and led to them resorting to cannibalism. And Wendy's like, oh, Jack, stop, please. And Danny's like, it's okay, Mum, I saw it on the telly. He's like, you see? He saw it on the TV. It's how he says it, though, that bit, the TV. He's like, he saw it on the TV, it's fine. Jack Nicholson, man. He's a really good actor.
For that.
But obviously, then we cut straight into the hotel where he's greeted by Ullman. He's like, oh, is your family all right? He's like, oh, yeah, in the games room. So obviously, they go get Wendy and they take her around the hotel with them. Yeah, they talk about the history of the place. What Danny's having a game of darts. Can't bet a game of darts.
I wonder if he gets any visitors.
All he's missing is a pint in his hand and his dart.
No girls by his side.
but yeah, obviously he sort of turns around. Obviously the two, as you say, the Olsen twins are standing there watching him. And he's just like, the
180.
Trying to watch birds.
These trophy birds gonna walk off of them after.
We obviously to the others going into the gold ballroom, which obviously going to play a big part in the latter of the movie.
Yeah.
And we meet the head chef Dick Halloran, played by Scatman Crothers, which, as you say, Connor, you got a theory. So I'm going to get you let you go into your theory before we carry on.
Right. So the scene where he first introduced, the first thing I thought was that guy's a paedophile. Like there's a huge vibes. Like straight away he goes straight to Danny. Like I was like, that's weird. And he's like, oh, just leave him with me. And then it's a very weird scene. I don't obviously he knows he's got the Shining, but we don't know that. So obviously he's like trying to communicate with him, but to us it just seems so odd. I mean, especially to me, I really thought he was gonna like grab him or something. I was like, please don't leave him alone with that man.
I think that's probably why it's supposed to seem off-putting, and then until you realise that the reason why he's got the interest of the kid, because obviously he's like the kid.
Yeah,
there's more of a kinship.
But like, can he hear everyone's thoughts as well? Because obviously he knows he's called Doc, but does he hear that from his mom or not?
I think he probably. I think the whole point of Shining is it's more like all kinds of psychic. It's like seeing the future, reading minds and stuff like that, but also like seeing the past and kind of stuff like that. So I think it's a more of a mix.
It's just kind of never like fully explained what it is. That's the thing. Like obviously I've never watched the sequel, well, kind of sequel. I don't know if it explains anything about what the show.
I just know that The Shining is that it's in all the Stephen King's books.
Yeah,
I know that it's all connected. There's like a whole theory of like everything is all connected, and the way that like it and that.
Yeah.
There's a theory that how the kids destroyed him is that they will all have the Shining. So it is all.
To be fair though, all of Stephen King's work are pretty much connected because he always does it as a sort of big connection, which is why he did Castle Rock, which is all his stories into one. Heck, Shawshank's not even a horror, and yet that's in this horror series. The Prison is.
Yeah,
that's a whole part of this story. Everything is just pretty much rolled into one story because everything he does is always pretty much connected. Which I do like, to be fair.
While you're watching The Shining, you also know that there's a flying turtle in the space.
But obviously in the It version, it was just a Lego version. Missed an opportunity there. But yeah, so as you say, that then obviously they all split up, and Danny goes with it's a good man, Scatman, and he obviously takes Wendy as well, and have a look around the freezer, the pantry, and obviously this ends up leading to him saying, "Oh, what's your favorite ice cream, Doc?"
Yeah,
and he's staring at him, and obviously Wendy's like, "Wait, how did you know his name was Doc?" It's like, I'm pretty sure you said it.
Yeah, just like,
no, I don't remember saying it.
I've not been stalking your kid.
And obviously when he's in the pantry as well, there's a scene when he just looks at him and goes,
"Do you want
some ice cream?"
Well, also talking.
Weird vibes.
Yeah.
Like straight down. Like every time I'm like, this is a bit weird. Something's wrong here.
That's obviously when we see The Shining in action.
Yeah.
Then cut to Jack returning with the others, and they take Wendy off to the basement, leaving, as you say, Danny with Halloran.
Yeah, which I mean, like, if I was his parent, I'd be like, "Oh, you give off some creepy ass vibes. Leave you
Stay away from my son, you weird bitch."
I mean, to be honest though, the kid is speaking to his finger, so he's weird as well.
Yeah, true. She probably thought like, do you know what? If the kid loses, kid gets kidnapped, it's his own fault.
That's another thing as well. He's like, why does that guy not look after the hotel? Because he just goes home and just sits in his house and ends up going back anyway. Surely he could have looked after it.
Could have, but I don't know. It's just don't look into stuff like that because it's never explained. It's just gonna fuck your mind trying to figure out theories and shit. So let's move on.
back to it.
Yeah. So obviously, when they go off to the basement, Danny has a little bit of ice cream, But
meant
while
to.
eating the ice cream, Halloran tells Danny about The Shining.
Shine.
Which is when, obviously, you can speak without moving your lips.
Mm.
And, Danny doesn't respond to Halloran because Tony tells him not to. And then Halloran questions Danny about Tony, and if he's ever told him about the Overlook Hotel. But Danny isn't sure, and basically just asks Halloran a weird question about like people who shy and whatnot. And it's like, oh, what's this room 237? He's like, don't you go in there. There's nothing wrong with it. But just stay away from it.
There's nothing in there, but if you go in there, you probably die. The usual.
It's just
Some
there is like,
sexy naked
oh, there's
lady
nothing
in
wrong with it. Just stay out.
Nothing wrong with it. Don't you fucking go near it.
It's just
I'll
looking at it,
shine
like,
you, mother.
before obviously we cut to a month later. And obviously Wendy's delivering food to Jack while Danny's riding his bike in one of many shots of this. Very iconic of him just going.
Yeah. Like I said, it's like the Stewie scene.
Yeah.
He's just
Yeah,
like
but it's
rolling like.
recreated.
"Durr, durr, durr."
Yeah, that is good. The sound design for that is amazing.
Yeah, it's
So
probably one of
the
my favourite
soundtrack's
scenes.
one of the best things with this film. And obviously then we cut again to Jack bouncing the ball around, which apparently was Jack Nicholson's idea. He's meant to stand there or sit there or something. He's like, oh no, I can just bounce the ball around. He's like, oh sure, why not?
Because it's more funny.
He obviously trying to think of something to write, which, writer's block, man. I know how he feels.
I feel like even like bouncing the ball, obviously that goes with the sound, like, because obviously you got Danny rolling around in that sound, and then you got him bouncing the ball. And it's just kind of like no speaking, it's just noise constantly. For this
Pretty
hotel
much.
that's huge and got no guests, there's still loads of noise, and I think he's just trying to like push that across as well.
Yeah, that's what he's trying to do. He's like, you're trying to show how empty it is. It's a massive place, but there's no one in there apart from them.
Yeah, and
So just him using the ball, the bike, it shows how empty and alone and isolated this place is. So, yeah.
Obviously, outside, Wendy and Danny run off into this big ass maze. Another thing which I think wasn't in the book, if I remember correctly reading.
Don't think
that was
it
just
was.
for this.
But like that scene's really good because over in the maze and like you got Jack like looking over the model of the maze at the same time.
Yeah,
Like,
that was really good.
That shot's probably like the
fucking
most iconic
brilliant
shot. Like that for me, that's probably the best shot.
And how it was done as well is actually really good.
He like pans out to him stood over it, and it pans back to them like sitting down. Like, oh, let's take a break. Like,
so it's like a really cool transition, which is really nice. Obviously, then we cut to fucking Tuesday.
yeah.
Where Wendy's making some dinner. And I'm pretty certain it's dinner. Some weird tin of crap.
Yeah.
A very big tin of crap, I might add. And she's watching the news. It's obviously about the snowstorm coming. But we obviously cut to Danny again riding his bike around, which leads him to finding room 237.
Oh.
And he tries to get in, but it's locked, so he gets back on his bike and heads on his way. And obviously we fade into Jack. He's typing away on his typewriter, and he's interrupted by Wendy, who tells him about the weather, but he just acts like a straight up ass here. And he's like, oh, when I'm typing, you stay the fuck out. And she's like,
it's so fucking creepy.
And this is the bit when he's like, oh, we should start right now. Get the fuck out.
Yeah.
So that's the thing as well.
He's
Like,
ass.
obviously he's hired to look after the hotel, but she's doing absolutely everything there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, he's doing nothing the entire time but being a douche.
He's just throwing balls, typing in his little typewriter. Well, not even typing anything. He's just
He's just saying the same thing over and over again.
He's just literally focusing more on himself, which is probably another reason for why he had a mental breakdown. Because it's all focusing on him. He's not actually socializing with his family, which is making him be more isolated.
Yeah, he's like isolating himself while already in isolation, which is like insane.
I mean, we see what happened.
2020.
Yeah, we've seen what isolation's happened to Tom. Fucking hell. He's jacking off again, so
well done.
I've got to stop him.
We then cut to Thursday, I believe it is. where Danny and Wendy are playing in the snow because the snow's come down, and Jack's just there menacingly staring at them.
He's got the angle where he's like looking down. His hair's like balding, so it's all like weird, and he's just like staring like.
Obviously, the stare just causes a cut to Saturday.
He
He stares that much. He stares into Saturday.
It's like, yeah, just skip that, please. Go away.
He's going crazy. Obviously, it's on Saturdays, typing away again. While Wendy tries to use the phone, obviously to no luck, so she gets on the radio and speaks to the forest service station. Over.
What's the code?
And they discuss the phone's not working. Over.
What's the code?
God, it's bad weather.
If she has any issues to contact again. Over.
It's literally us, like when we're doing Phasmophobia.
Yeah, exactly.
Over.
What's the
Have
code?
they kicked a kid
That
over?
she keeps saying it's like K2, K1, K2, K2 or something stupid. I can't. That annoys me every time I watch it. I'm like, why does she not just say like hello, hello over? Because that's the only people she's got like in contact anyway.
Or just say this is Overlook over.
Yeah.
Because
To be fair, maybe it's like an American thing or like a mic.
Overlook Hotel.
Yeah, and procedure she has to use.
Yeah. I feel like I'm just like, I'm feeling like, why don't you just call him, man? Why are you using a radio? Surely they've got phones still.
No,
The
the phone lines are down.
Yeah, the phone lines are down. She was doing the fucking chords and everything.
This is supposed to be your film, like the one that you like most of.
And the one who doesn't like it that much knows a bit more than you.
And I literally only watched it today.
Yeah, I love it, but I also think there is parts of it that make zero sense.
Most of the film makes zero sense.
I've got like a very love-hate relationship with it. It's like my favourite horror film, but I don't really class it as a horror film. So like, but all my films are like a weird. We've gone over this many times.
Yeah.
American Psycho, Donnie Darko in my top 3.
Yeah, but
so like,
I would watch American Psycho over this any day.
Oh yeah, but it's different genres. I can't.
Christian Bale's just amazing.
Yeah, your favourite.
Because he's always meant to be crazy in that film.
Yeah, and
whereas
you love seeing him peel
never
off
feel for
his
him.
mask.
Back to this movie.
Back to this movie. Skip that.
Where did we get to? We got to Danny on his bike again.
Yeah.
And obviously this time he stops and runs into the twins.
Yeah.
And obviously another well-known scene, and like, come play with us, Danny. Which is I said to you, I think kind of there's a scene in the second SpongeBob movie that rips this scene off.
Yeah. You said
Plankton runs into 2 ice creams that are stuck together, and they're like, "Come eat us, Plankton! Hurry before we melt!" And Plankton just shits himself and runs off.
I mean,
yeah, it's a very iconic shot.
Because it flashes between them and them.
Alive and dead. Yeah, and Danny's just like going,
Home Alone.
But obviously, after eventually he covers his eyes, they just disappear, and he's like, "Oh, phew!" And he obviously just looks at Tony and goes,
"Please help me, Tony." "All right, help you, Danny. You're fine. You're just going crazy."
God,
this isn't real.
He's like, "Oh, okay." And
you need help.
we cut to then I believe it's Danny and his mom on Monday watching TV. He's like, "I want to go get my fire engine." He's like, "No, Dad's asleep." He's like, "I want to." And he rolls that nat 20 in persuasion. He's like, "Okay, go on then." And he sneaks up, but he rolls a nat 1 in stealth because his dad's already awake.
Yeah.
And he's just like, "Hey, come sit over here, Danny. I'm gonna be fine by you." It's that slow walk towards him. He's like,
Please don't pull my arm
Jimmy,
off again.
no.
And obviously he sits next. They're sitting there together, and he's like, "Do you like the hotel?" It's like, "No, do you?"
I love it. I want to stay here forever and ever and ever. And ever.
It's like, "Why don't you go to sleep?" He's like, "I can't."
I need sleep.
Would you ever hurt me or Mom? Did she tell you that? No. Because I never hurt you, Danny.
No.
And it's just like really creepy and off-putting.
Because he is creepy.
I'm gonna say
I
like his whole thing is like even like outside of the film he's creepy anyway.
And it just ends him going, "I love you, Danny," before we cut to
Oh.
Wednesday.
So
Where-
his smile. It reminds me of like William Dafoe and the Green
Yeah.
Green Goblin. Weird like
Tom,
Yeah, but
insert the
nothing's
Harry.
insert the
nothing's gonna
okay
beat
mic.
that.
Woo!
Nothing's gonna beat that one. Was it? Who sent it? Was it Connor?
Yeah.
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 We're gonna have a hell of a time.
You gotta put that clip in.
Woo!
Oh,
Oh,
fucking one, man. That's pretty
Woo!
yeah. But yeah,
Back
so
to the
obviously
movie.
on Wednesday, Danny, he's playing with his cars in the hall because that's where you play with your cars in the middle of this hall. And
yeah.
he then gets up and just runs off down the hallway, finds 237 open. Should I go in there? Cut to Wendy.
Yeah, good to
Yeah.
have smoke again.
Checking on the generators, I think it is, or something like that.
Mm.
It's some
It's like the
generator
heating or
looking
something,
room.
isn't it?
I'm not too
I'm pretty sure it's for the heating in the hotel.
It's a boiler room then.
Yeah, I think so.
Sure. Boiler room then. She obviously hears Jack screaming. He's fast asleep going,
What for?
and she's like running around going, and then she finds him just there, just drooling fast asleep. And she's like, "You okay?" He's like, "Oh, I'm fine."
I just assumed that I killed you and our son. You know, the usual.
And he's like, and Danny just comes wandering in, like really slowly from behind, and quite a well-looking shot.
Mm.
Mm.
And it's like, "Danny, go to your room and play. Daddy's just had a dream. Danny, are you listening to me?"
Mm.
And she runs over to him, and obviously she checks on him. He's stuck in his
Yeah.
thumb. He's got a massive fucking bruise on his neck.
Mm.
Yeah.
And she's like, "You did this, didn't you?" Jack's just sitting there just looking like he's
Like,
pissed as a fucking
"Bitch,
fart.
He's like so
What?
confused.
Who said that?
It's like, "You did this. You crazy." She just picks him up and runs off. And he's just still sat there. He's like, "No, but no."
I'll tell you what, during
Oh.
that scene, I was thinking, I really hope he hasn't got anything in his thumb. Imagine just sucking on his finger. Oh no, sorry. What are you doing, Danny?
We then obviously cut to Jack walking and going crazy before heading to the gold room and sitting at the bar where he meets a ghostly visitor called Lloyd. Yeah, Jack's going crazy by this point, talking to Ghost and getting him a drink. It's a little chat about women. You can't live without them, can't live with them. That usual sort of
The old
talk.
shtick.
Yeah.
And Jack's like, "I never touched him. Never touched Danny. Okay, I did it once, but I never touched him again."
Yeah. And that scat man, he touched him. I saw it in my own eyes.
To be fair, you could have said that would have believed him.
To sum up this scene, Jack's just insane.
Talking to himself.
Wendy
Yeah.
comes running with the bat, and she's like, "Jack, there's a crazy woman in the hotel. He strangled Danny." Jack's just like, "You crazy woman."
Crazy.
But
What room
eventually,
she's in?
eventually she's like, "What room?" We cut to Halloran sitting back watching some news, surrounded by some very raunchy, erotic
Yeah.
paintings.
There's some very weird paintings going on in that room.
And fair, a lot of Kubrick films tend to have these sort of raunchy style erotica in.
Well,
Heck,
to be fair,
Eyes Wide Shut, the whole premise is erotica.
yeah, well, it leads in because obviously you've got the naked women in there, and then you go and see Jack walking on a naked woman taking a bath,
Yeah.
which is
But
nice.
before that, Halloran obviously visions Danny in pain and whatnot.
Mm.
And he's like, "What?" He starts sort of shaking. He's like, Danny's also shaking, but one drooling. Like,
Yeah.
And obviously, as you say, then in room 237, Jack finds that lady in the tub. He's like, "Oh, hello," a bit close and personally. "Oh, hello."
So you're like, you showing
Kissy,
my
kissy,
son?
kissy.
That's snog.
Obviously, as he smooch, he looks in the mirror and just sees this ghastly old rotten hag. And he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, no, no." And he starts like, just walking
Put a
backwards.
bag over her head.
Well, like
no.
scary movie style.
Yeah.
No, keep the bag on, keep the bag on. And he starts slowly walking back. Danny's still obviously his fit. And Jack eventually gets out the room and just locks it. And he's like, before we cut back to Halloran, he's trying to call the hotel, but obviously no luck. The phone's right.
Down, yeah.
And then Jack gets back to Wendy. He's like, "Oh no, there's no one in there. It's fine. There's no one in there." And the others sit there, and she's like, "But something bruised him." And Jack's like, "Well, it's gotta be him. He's doing it to himself. If his story doesn't make sense, like it's not real, then he's bruised himself. But in reality, obviously, he didn't. It was the fucking the nudie ass woman."
I know who it was.
With that,
It was Tony.
with that part of the film, is he like obviously he sees the ghost, so he knows it's real, and obviously he looks terrified. But then he's like playing it off like nothing was there. Is he doing it because they're stuck there and they can't get out, or is he doing it because he's now fully like under the influence of it?
It builds the influence. Like,
Yeah,
he's
something
fully
like that.
snapped.
Because like obviously he sees the ghost in the bar, which that for me shows under the influence. But then he's still scared when he gets snuck in by the old man.
I think he's more scared of like, not scared, more creeped out by how ugly she is. Probably.
Yeah,
Like,
she's
he's-
crazy. He'd probably into that kind of stuff. Oh, hello. Rotting old corpse. Don't mind if I do.
But her laugh, nah, thanks.
he runs out the room and runs back and gets some bath water and runs off again.
he's got to start the bath water business beforehand.
Gonna say, yeah.
Want to buy some old hag? Only $20. But where we're up to now, so obviously they had this talk, and
Doesn't it pan out to like it being like totally snowed in there?
I think it cuts to Danny. Actually, he's like hearing all this conversation while having another episode. Obviously, seeing the world, that red room. Blood splattering everywhere and whatnot, and it's all having that sort of cut in between that. And when he's like, "Oh, we need to just like take Danny, just get out of here," and Jack just goes fucking crazy.
We're not going anywhere.
And he's like, "Fuck you!" And obviously he storms out and begins to sort of trash in this place. He's like smashing all the pots and pans everywhere. Because you know what pots and pans done to Jack.
Yeah, true.
And obviously after he smashed them all, knocked them all out, he obviously hears some music and sees loads of balloons everywhere. So he starts following this area before he cuts to Halloran, who's now calling the forest service, seeing what's going on. They're like, "Oh, their phones are down." He's like, "Oh, could you just radio them and see what's happening?" He's like, "Okay, just call back in about 20 and we'll see what we got." He's like, "Oh, okay, thank you very much." And obviously, Jack then obviously fully stumbles into this fucking gold room, which is actually now full of guests. He goes and gets himself a little drink. I starts having a walk around, just looking at everything before that waiter stumbles into him. He's like, "I'm very sorry, sir. I'll clean you up right now." So it looks like you got some of yourself on you, Jeeves. He just wipes it all over his back. It reminds me of when years ago when about Hayden, we used to film the comedy sketches. And I stood in dog shit during one of the sketches. And there's a bit where she fell over, and I obviously had to put my foot on her back, and I just put the dog shit on her back. I was like, "That's what I'm going to get rid of the dog shit." So I think I wiped it in the grass, and I was like, "Oh, there's still a bit left. Okay, I'll just cheekily wipe it on the back." I can't remember which. I think it was when we was jokingly like ripping off I don't know, some sort of movie or something. I can't remember. But I just remember wiping dog shit on your back. I think it's when you had that grey jacket on that you used to wear a lot.
Yeah,
I was just wiping it all over the back. But yeah, back to this film. He's like, "Oh, I'll take you to the bathroom and clean you up." So he heads off into the bathroom. And as he's cleaning him, he's like, "Oh, what's your name?" He's like, "Oh, my name's Grady, sir." And obviously it just clicks in Jack's mind. He's like, "Wait, Grady? Is that the caretaker that murdered his wife and twins?" Jack starts to question him to confirm this theory. For basically going, "Hey, you chopped up your family." And then you blew your brains out. He's like, "I don't recall any of this, good sir." And Jack's like, "Well, you're the caretaker." And Grace's just like, "Actually, sir, you're the caretaker. You've always been the caretaker." And he's like, "Your son's attempted to bring in an outside party." And then they both use some racial slurs, which I'm not going to repeat.
Yeah.
And basically they say Halloran's coming, but you can guess the sort of racial slur I'm getting at. And Jack's like, "How's he doing this?" He's like, "Oh, he's got some special talent." He's like, "But he's a naughty boy." Every time he just said naughty boy, just reminds me of the Monty Python movie,
Yeah, I
The
thought
Life
it
of Brian. He's like, he's a naughty boy. And Jack's like, oh, it's Wendy. She's done this. It's all her fault. And Greg's like, well, maybe you should basically go kill your family. Obviously, he says it in a subtler tone, but he's pretty much saying, go murder your family.
Yeah, in Latin terms, he's like, just kill him.
It's pretty much like, oh, it worked out for me, so go and do it.
I
He's like-
corrected my wife and my
Yeah, he obviously uses that term. He corrected them. He never says like, "Oh, I just killed them." He's like, "I corrected them," because he's like, "I corrected my twins because they didn't want to be there or something." He's like, "Then my wife was doing something." He's like, "Then I corrected her."
We're trying to stop him from doing it, so he corrected her as well.
It's just unsettling how he just never says that he killed them. He's just like, "I corrected them."
And this is
It's
where
quite-
the little time loop happens, where you kind of like, well, what timeline is this happening in?
Exactly.
This is because literally 2 seconds ago he's like, oh, I don't know what you're on about, and now he's like, yeah, they kind of do it.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, I'm pretty certain when he's like, "Oh, no," he's saying he did it. He's not actually saying he killed them. He's just saying corrected. He's just saying he fixed them.
Yeah, which
He's
is
not
kind of
admitting
what
that.
Jack did to Danny, right?
He's not admitting in his mind that he killed them. He's just admitting that he just fixed them. Sort of like that. It's not that he's confirming that he did kill them. He's just saying, "Oh no, I fixed them. They're not dead. I just fixed them." But in reality, obviously, he just fucking chopped them up. It's just something that's up to interpretation more than anything.
Yeah. I see it as like a ghost who knew what he did, but like seeing it in a different way. Like I see it as more of a supernatural mixed with the mental breakdown, and that because his actual mind's gone so broken that he can see the ghost, which is something obviously that Danny can do because of him having the Shining. That's how I see it. Shining.
I feel like Jack is like insinuating to have part of the Shining himself though, because he's talking to apparitions as well, which no one else can do. Like his wife can't do it.
It might be like he has like a negative version of the Shining or something.
Yeah, I don't think he's got the Shining. I literally just think he's snapped. That's why.
That's why I think. Like, I don't think he's got the Shining. I think he's got like because his mental breakdown allows him to see this stuff that Danny can do with the Shining without have any like mental problems.
Well,
except for
frothing from the mouth and shaking everywhere.
That might be because of how young he is, and it's like
he's breaking his mind.
Handling it.
Yeah, but doesn't Oldman have the same thing when he's contacted? Because he shakes
No,
and stuff.
he shakes, but he doesn't froth at the mouth.
Yeah, I think he's more like he was having more of the visions of what's going to happen.
Yeah, more than anything.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
But yeah, so yeah, they probably won't. The only person who can probably ever explain it is Stanley Kubrick, and he's dead.
Yeah.
So there's probably no chance he's ever going to explain.
So this we've got a Shining to talk to him.
Yeah, I'll pull it out.
It's got the Ouija board out.
Yeah,
Oh,
get
God,
one out,
no.
yeah.
I've had some bad experience with that on Phasmophobia.
Oh,
No.
I'll bring one over next time we're all allowed to meet.
But yeah, back to this movie. I believe it's now they're in the bedroom and Danny begins to yell "Red Rum"
Yeah.
over and over again. Well, no, he doesn't. Tony does, because you can tell when it's Tony and him.
Yeah.
Which is seen later on. You see transform Tony into him, but obviously it's Tony going "Red Rum, Red Rum, Red Rum," and he's like, this is like it basically she. I'm trying to remember this bit now.
She kind of talks to him and she's like, "What's going on?" And then she looks at the door and then looks in the mirror, right? And it's
No, that's a bit later on. That's not yet.
Jesus,
yeah, it's not yet.
Okay,
we'll skip it. I'm pretty certain there's a bit I'm missing, but I'm just going to skip to the next bit, which is Jack walking through and he hears the radio.
Oh, yeah. That's probably.
So he obviously cracks it open and takes out the important parts. No, it's got a bit of writing there. I can't remember that scene. My mind's gone blank.
He's going to correct the radio.
Oh, that was it. When she's speaking to Danny at first, when he's first going like this, he's like, "Danny's gone, Mrs. Torrance." That was it. Then it goes obviously to Jack, and he obviously takes the parts of the radio, and obviously then comes back to Hallivan, who's obviously told by the services that he can't get a response, so we try again, and we then cut to ATM, and Hallivan's now on a plane, making his way to the hotel, but
having a nice layback on the plane.
How long are we going to be? 8:24. Okay, 24 minutes. I'll sit back.
Oh, got any films on? Yeah. Devil Wears Prada. We'll watch that.
we then cut back to Jack typing away before another cut to Halloran, who arrives in. I think it's Denver, is it? Like, and he obviously calls his mate up, who obviously works near the hotel, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, any chance you can get me a snowcat up there?" And he's like, "Oh." He's like, "Oh, why do you want to go up there?" It's like the people up there, isn't it? He's like, "Oh yeah, well, I was got off the phone with Allman." He's like, "Oh, they're irresponsible fuckers or something like that." He pretty much just lies to him to say that they're useless. You've got to go up there and get rid of them. He's like, "Oh, can you just get me a cat ready?" He's like, "Oh yeah, we'll get one ready for you." He's like, "Oh, great." And then obviously we cut back to the hotel where Wendy walks around with Bat again for protection from Jack. But as she walks around, she finds the typewriter with the words "all work and no play make Jack a dull boy."
Yeah.
Over and over again, which is something I reference from playing Satisfactory.
Yeah.
And obviously this scares her. And obviously she looks at all these pages next to it, and she looks, and it's more and more the same thing, but obviously written in different styles.
And there's like of like spelling mistakes as well. There's a bit where it says like "work and no play makes Jack a DYL boy."
Yeah,
Like,
there's a lot of different versions of it.
Getting mental, obviously. It's the spelling mistakes coming in.
And obviously, after she's like sort of turned this, she's interrupted by Jack, who begins to go after her, acting more and more crazy. All this is obviously heard by Danny upstairs. Obviously, it's dubbed over some more blood red footage again.
Yeah.
And obviously, this Jack's fully go crazy, and he starts going after Wendy. He starts slow following her, just trying to get her. Just keeps saying weird shit to her. Before she obviously makes it to the.
What's going with Danny?
Before she makes it to the stairs and slowly walks up them to get away from him, and he's just still going after her. He's like, "Give me the bat! Give me the bat!" And she just slams it into his fucking head. And he's just there, he goes, "Oh!" and just falls like backwards.
Yeah, straight.
It cracks me up. And obviously he falls all the way down the stairs. And he's just he's just there, gone. But I love the version of The Simpsons more than this version of Homer.
Himself.
Yeah, he looks at himself in the mirror and scares himself and falls down the fucking stairs. I do prefer that version.
I'm gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna burst your brains out.
And obviously then cut to Jack just gargling on the floor. Wendy's just dragging him into the pantry where she locks him in. And obviously while in the pantry, Jack body goes more crazy and tells Wendy to go check the radio and the snowcat. And he's like, "Go check him! Go check him! Check him! Check him!" And she just runs away, and she finds them pretty much useless because Jack's just fucked them all up.
Yeah.
And we cut to 4 p.m, I believe it is, and Jack's having a lovely little snooze, but he's woken by his ghostly pal Grady. He's like, "Oh, you're not doing a very good job, are you?" And he's like, "Oh, Wendy's a bit too strong." He's like, "Well, maybe we should have to deal with it." He's like, "Oh no, I'll deal with it." He's like, "Okay, if you're going to deal with it, you need to do it in the harshest way possible." Basically, fully saying he's going to fucking murder your family.
Yeah.
Or in his terms, correct them.
But yeah, like I said, this is like the biggest evidence of there being actual supernatural stuff into it.
Yeah, because the door just cracks open.
Yeah.
This is obviously, I say, a lot of the other stuff could probably just be down to the fact, obviously, it's just his mind going crazy. But this is obviously the one element of, okay, maybe there is some sort of ghostly activity, while also at the same time being still in his fucked up mind.
Like I said, like I think that it's him having the mental breakdown allows him to see the ghosts.
There's a lot of theories with this film. It's up to your version of interpretation, how you want to go with it, really.
Yeah.
But that's what I do like films sometimes like that, where it's up to your interpretation. But at the same time, I hate them because it's like, I want to know the actual truth. What is it?
It's like what's it called? The one with the with the town like folding on itself.
Inception.
Inception. That's it. Yeah. The ending scene where like he's still in the dream.
Yeah.
Awake. And you see it still spinning and stuff.
American Psycho, that's another one, obviously kind of brought up earlier. That's sort of one that's got an ending where it's like up to your interpretation of how it goes.
Yeah.
If the entire job does.
Yeah, a lot of things do. To be fair, that was going to have a sequel. So
yeah.
And it was obviously going to carry on from there, but it never did.
We'll never find out if Michael Caine survives.
I'm saying he did. It's Michael fucking Caine.
He survived. He found the water. but like he survived and managed to become an airplane driver, and then became in Jaws 4.
At some point, I believe between that or just after that, he also fought bees
Yes.
because of the film called The Swarm that he was in.
And then he retired and became Batman's butler.
And then he had big bushy blonde eyebrows.
And at some point after that, he also was like the father-in-law of The Rock.
Yeah. Then he jumped back in time and met Jack Ripper.
And that leads back onto Jack. Wow.
Yeah, onto Jack. We cut then, I believe it's to Halloran, who's he's making his way up in the snowy climate and his snowcat. But we cut to Danny and obviously the iconic red rum routine there. Where he's like red rum, and he's standing obviously above his mum with a knife. But he's not going to kill her because he gets the lipstick and starts writing it on the door.
Yeah.
And then he just goes even more louder, which is obviously how she hears him, because that's when he clicks from Tony into Danny, because he starts going red ram, and then he goes red ram in his normal voice, so that's when it clicks into it.
Yeah.
So obviously, when he's doing the red run normally, it's obviously Tony, but this time around, at the end, it's Danny. And she's like, Danny, what's the matter with you? She takes the knife off his hands, and that's when she looks in the mirror and sees red rum backwards, stands for murder. And just in time, because Jack's now taking an axe to the fucking door.
Boom.
And she's like, oh shit. So she obviously grabs him and takes him in the bathroom. Obviously,
ironically, is the red room door. So like that was like his way of warning her that he was going to try and break for that door to murder them.
It's also ironic, obviously, because she was hiding in there when Halloran arrives in a bit.
Yeah.
But so obviously, he's obviously breaks down this one door eventually. And I don't know which door it was. Maybe this one, the door he actually gets through. It took him numerous attempts to even fucking get through it.
Well,
and the amount of takes they went through, the amount of fucking doors they went through. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, that scene, the red room door scene, I think is 3 days.
Something stupid like that. It took a lot of fucking doors.
It's like one of the only scenes that he made Jack Nicholson redo as well, because most of his scenes he took like early takes, and then like that was the only scene where he made him like do loads of takes. And didn't he make him like he took one of the takes from halfway through as well, even after making him redo it?
I'm not too sure.
Because obviously, like on set, he was praised by him like loads, and then every other actor was basically berated by him, saying like, "You're terrible," but he's like love Jack.
And Danny as well, apparently. Apparently, he was really kind to Danny.
Yeah, because he was obviously only young when he filmed this.
Yeah, because if he wasn't abusive, he'd be arrested.
Didn't he like tell him he's going to give him the tricycle as well after filming, and just didn't give it him?
I don't know, but that just sounds like a dick fucking move,
like,
man.
apparently he promised him the tricycle for after filming, and then never gave it him or something.
That's what I'd do.
Because apparently, like, from what I've read, like, obviously being nice to him, but he wanted like an incentive for him to be good in scenes, so he gave him like stuff like that, and then never actually like promised and gave up on it. So he was waiting for this tricycle that he never got.
Tricycle! Damn it! But yeah, obviously in the bathroom, Wendy managed to get Danny out the window, but she can't fit. So this begins the very iconic and done a million times scene.
Yeah,
it was done 3 times in The Simpsons. Literally, one take was him doing it into an empty room, going dough. Another take was doing it to a room where his dad was in, and the final take was him doing it to the room where the family were. Obviously, as he's obviously cutting away at this door many times, obviously you got Wendy screams. Then Jack looks through this crack, and does the obviously iconic "Here's Johnny in Line," which is based on a talk show host.
Yeah.
Which apparently the director didn't know anything about, because obviously he spent most of his time over in England, and he didn't have a clue about this American talk show, and he's just like, "Oh, that sounds quite kind of cool. Let's just use that." That is straight up as Jack Nicholson's choice here. Nothing to do with Kubrick. It's full on Nicholson's choice of going, "Here's Johnny," which is obviously spoofed in. Was it Mortal Kombat X? Did it in?
Yeah, it's in quite
11. When Johnny Cage punches through someone's ribs and just does the "Here's Johnny" line through them.
I think it might be number 10, yeah.
Yeah, because I just remember doing that. I was like, yes, Shining. And obviously, with this door now open, Jack sticks his hand through, tries to get in. And, doesn't think about, maybe she's got a army knife.
You're slashed to the hand.
And obviously, then we cut to Halloran, who's finally made it to the hotel. But lucky for him, Jack can hear the snow cat arriving because it's a loud fucking thing.
Yeah.
So he's like, "Oh, I'll leave Wendy alone there." So he heads off, just as
Correct.
just as Danny's running through this fucking hotel. He has to hide in like a
little trolley, isn't it? Like
a trolley sort of shelf thing.
Yeah.
And he hides in there just as Jack comes limping around. Yeah, and obviously this is when Halloran just walks in. He's like looking around, starts calling out for people, and then Jack just jumps down in front of him and just puts the axe straight into his chest.
Yeah.
King of the hero, which don't think happened in the book, did it? I think he survived the book, didn't he?
I think he might have survived, yeah.
I swear he survived
he
in the book.
survived in the book, and he was actually in the start of the Doctor Sleep book as well.
He's in the movie because obviously they do. Even though it tries to ignore a lot of stuff from this, it does still play on a lot of stuff, which is nice, and it's also better.
Yeah, in the book he survived.
But yeah, obviously he's dead now. Danny hears all this really shining powers and stupidly screams. So obviously Jack hears him like, "Danny boy!" and starts going after him.
Doing that little limp walking.
Yeah. Just as Wendy's on the other hand doing the opposite. And I don't know how she doesn't hear the screaming, but somehow she ends up going higher up into the hotel where she finds a bear knocking a guy off.
Yeah, that's a weird scene. I never understood that one.
Yeah, that's actually James and Alex. His best. You don't know this, yeah.
Oh my god, yes. They're gonna kill you for that, FYI, Hayden.
Fuck him.
But yeah,
we got real footage of it.
She gets really scared and it's just like runs away. And Jack eventually chases Danny outside and switches the lights on to allow him to find his son. And then the two run off into the maze. And we then cut multiple times, like back and forth between them going for this maze, and obviously Wendy finding dead skeletons and that in the hotel, and obviously the guy standing there with all the blood in his face, with a drink in his hand.
Great party, isn't it?
But obviously, while hunting Danny, obviously Jack's going through his snow and all, he's freezing to fucking death, walking over, Danny, and fucking Danny actually does a smart thing here. He's like, oh wait, he's following my footprints, so he just backtracks for his footprints and just jumps into like the nearest ditch.
The smartest thing he's done it during the whole entire film.
Exactly, and obviously he's hiding the side path. When he then comes across the bleeding elevator, Jack gets confused over the lack of footprints. Like, oh well, I'll just follow this random no area. So he obviously heads off, and obviously Danny just like, okay, so he's gone. I'm gonna bolt. So he runs off and he managed to get to the exit while Jack still just limps around this maze, and eventually just succumbs to his exhaustion and the cold.
Yeah.
And as he's hearing the cat drive away, he just starts like mumbling away, like blow, blow.
Just making noise.
It's pretty much just making noise before he just collapses and freezes to death. And obviously another iconic looking shot.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just sat there going, boys, and like trying to do the weird like orgasm noises.
And obviously, as this obviously after he's frozen, he cut back inside with some music, and it slowly pans towards this like wall of pictures, and specifically to the one in the middle, which is obviously labeled 1921 at the end, because in the middle of all this like guests in the ballroom is Jack.
Yeah.
But it ends before we even can figure out what the fuck is happening. Obviously, it's unanswered questions, which just leaves people guessing for the past 40 years.
He's always been the caretaker.
Yeah.
See, a lot of people's interpretation is that it's a reincarnation thing, and the hotel's always drawing the reincarnated versions of the people from the image into the hotel. That's like one of the theories.
There's also like the theory of like the Indian burial ground.
Because, that's like a big theory towards it.
Like even the interiors, like obviously like Indian styled interior.
Exactly.
So,
American,
Native
American. Obviously, this is a completely different ending to the book, because whereas the book ends with Jack getting lowered into the boiler room, which obviously the scene we was talking about earlier. Yeah, they blow it up, which obviously never happened in this, because it does the opposite. Because a lot of people say obviously the book went with fire, whereas the film went with ice, because this version obviously he froze to death.
Yeah.
And obviously, as you say, as we've spoken, there's like many other fucking changes for it, which is obviously why fucking Stephen King just fucking just like, you just changed my book. and that's why when they did the '90s version, I think it was like around '95ish, the TV one, he was like full hands on with this, like making sure it was his version. But it was just too long of a film, which is why people hated it a lot. Plus, obviously, they saw it as the inferior version to this version.
Yeah.
Well,
Which,
he wrote a screenplay for the film, but he never read it. He didn't. He dismissed it instantly.
I think he wrote the screenplay for the TV one. Well, that was about 4 hours fucking long.
Yeah.
It was literally split into two. It was like the It miniseries. It was split into 2 parts. Except that made sense split into 2 parts because part one's going to focus on the kids, part two's going to focus on that. Whereas this splits it into 2 parts, but it's just like dragged out a lot of stuff. Apparently, it just drags it on, and you're just like, why are you dragging it on? You don't need to drag that on. Just cut that. Apparently, it just didn't. So
I think he wanted it to be more faithful to his book, whereas this one is more of an interpretation of a book that as itself has so many interpretations.
Pretty much
makes personally, I think the film is better than the book because of that. Like the book itself is more like this is that. There's no really much interpretations that's needed, whereas the film itself has so many that you can't argue that he's done good.
I mean, you had to fit it within how long's the film? Just under 2 hours, right?
The cut version was just under 2 hours, whereas the uncut version was 2:20.
So he had to fit all that into 2:20. Where obviously even Stephen King couldn't do it himself and pulled it over how many hours?
4.
Well, he did fit it in. He fucking dragged out stuff constantly for some stupid ass reason. Apparently, just loads of shots that didn't need to be dragged, and he just dragged it, and it just became some boring mess.
Oh yeah, he's better at writing books than he is at doing
films.
That or starring as a bike seller in an antique shop.
Yeah.
Which is an It reference if no one gets that.
In a disappointing sequel.
Sequels are always usually disappointing. It's a sequel for me. Unless it's Dr. Sleep. Nah, that's a more preferred version for me.
Yeah, I've never watched that. I'll have to watch that.
Or Spider-Man, yeah.
Or Scooby-Doo too.
Oh, hang on, we go back to Scooby-Doo. Has it been Scooby-Doo all along?
Okay, there's a few sequels out there that are better than the original. But vast majority are inferior.
Mm-hmm.
But there's the odd few: Terminator 2, Alien 2, Scooby-Doo 2, Robot.
That's a bad example. I'm saying it's a bad one.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say. I was like, wait, RoboCop 1's a better movie. I was counting it, but you made me fucking care. Like RoboCop 2. Wait, what?
Well, Rocky's a confusing one because some of them are terrible, and then you got number 5, which is good. That's so out of the way.
Yeah, there's just a lot of interpretations. So it gets right to the overall. Yep. Connor's never been part of this, so I'll kick it off.
Go on then.
And mine's very short, to be fair, because I've really struggled to try and wrap my mind around what to do with this. And so overall, for me, this movie looks great, especially in 4K. The 4K copy is just stunning, and it's maybe it's got a lot of good visual moments, like the trike, sorry, the twin elevator, the twins standing there. It's got a lot of iconic shots, accompanied by a great score as well.
Yeah.
I literally just don't know why I can't 100% get behind this movie. I just physically can't. It has everything I could love. Obviously, you got the good acting from Jack Nicholson, even though he's not meant to be crazy in the actual source, but he's got good acting from it. He's obviously got good music, which I always like in movies. If he's got good music, I always highly regard it. Good visuals, another thing I always highly regard. And it's got a lot of easy to remember scenes. So obviously the axe to the door. It's easy to remember because it's done a lot of times. It's iconic. I just literally don't know why I can't get behind it so much. I just have so many mixed feelings and can't sum up my feelings for this movie. See, it's not a shit movie. I will say it's not shit. But at the same time, I don't think it's great, so I can't highly praise it. But I just don't know. So, I know I might retcon my points when we do that fucking point changing thing at the end of the year. So, I'm just gonna go with a 7. It's a good looking movie. It's just not one that keeps me entertained enough.
Yeah.
I was gonna go with a 6, but that extra point just for the visual side of it, that gets it there. Literally, this is my honest opinion. It's a shame that I just can't get behind it. And I just can't put my finger on why I can't get behind it.
Well, you ask Tony.
Yeah,
Tony,
Tony.
what'd you say?
I
don't know, Tom. It's just weird.
For my overall, I've got to say, like, the actual film itself is the cinematography is great, the sound design is amazing, but also like I like how it's more a psychological horror because, like, as I've mentioned for this Halloween like theme we've gone through is like slasher remakes. The one thing I've been mentioning obviously is that slasher films in general and horror films, to me, I find boring because it's just the simple of like, oh, we need action to keep everyone entertained.
Yeah.
This is more psychological, and I like the slow build up to his breakdown, and I like how you can tell when things are getting worse. And I just really like how it's been done, and like a lot of it has been arguably quite creepy, but it's not horror, which I think again I kind of prefer that. It's more interesting to watch than just something hash out as a money grab because Michael Bay wanted to make money and couldn't make money.
Jason.
Fox
Money grab.
Yeah, I really did quite like watching it. It's not the best film out there. I mean, it's no Dora Explorer or Scooby Doo 2, but still, it was a good film to watch. So with the design and the like iconic it's of this entire film, the influence it's had. I mean, even fucking Pixar, it's influence on Pixar, for Christ's sake. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. It's no Dora the Explorer, but it's better than the shitty horror film that Tom's made me watch.
Totally Explorer.
Yeah, it's a good film.
I mean, I'm hugely biased to this film. Like, I've watched it many times. I mean, I watched it in cinema, which is when I first like fully fell in love with it. I mean, I liked it beforehand, but watching it in cinema, you get like so much more out of it. I think I think the saying as well for you, Tom. Like you said, you couldn't get into it. Maybe like the saying, like watching it at home is different than watching it in cinema. Like I didn't fully appreciate it till I watched it in cinema. So, so I'm gonna give it 9 shinings out of 9. Out of 10. 9 out of 9. That's a weird one. And I'm gonna give it a 9. I think Jack Nicholson was a weird choice. I think that's the only thing that takes a point off, just for the fact that like he's so mental during the whole thing. So,
you look too much good of an actor.
Yeah, he just like he's good, but he's good as a crazy person. So,
so that Chat gave overall rating of 8 out of 10. So Hayden's the middle woman here, slot bang in the middle. So we'll go with the 8. So
I want you to put like the little guy's face saying Shannon and put like 8 of them. Like 8 popping up.
So my question of the day, as I've said to you, Connor, it can be answered by either you or Hayden. It's up to you. So why do you think this film has been so impactful over the years on like not just like people, like pop culture and shit like that? When obviously it drastically changed its source material, which obviously was really well known. So why do you think it's become so impactful? Is it obviously just because it's Kubrick's vision of this movie, how good he made it look? What?
I'll let the expert.
I mean, like from my point of view, I think it's one of them things of like word of mouth. Like when I told you about it, like I watched it, I was like, it's weird. I like it. You watched it like pretty much straight after. I was like, you should watch it. So I feel like even like films like The Exorcist, like that was more word of mouth. People want to watch it because like, oh, this is terrifying.
Yeah, they watch it because of the controversy.
But like even when like how many people I know more people who don't like The Shining than people I do that like it, but everyone's seen it. Like I'm like pretty much if I mention it to someone, like yeah, I've seen it, but I don't like it. So, but I think it's so iconic because it's some of that like, especially in TV shows, people never and the films, people never go against source material really. But obviously this director did, and I think people respect it as well. So from a writer's point of view, people like praise it. So I think that's my theory. I think that's the reason it's so pulled up in like pop culture and stuff.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I think it was raising pop culture well because because how popular it was that specific time, like when he released like his proper cut, as he says. It's because it became so popular. It was something I think everyone sort of knew about. So everyone, like TV, was referencing it. And now it's later on, like we recognise the references, even though we haven't actually watched the film yet. Yeah. And if we have watched the film, it's like I definitely remember those. That was a good part of that film. Whereas when we're watching the film now, I'm like, I remember that in like Family Guy, that intro. Or I remember that in Simpsons.
Yeah, like obviously that whole scene with Stewie going down the hallway. Like I saw that before I watched The Shining. And as soon as I watched Shining, I was like, oh, that's where it's from. Like instantly knew.
Yeah,
So,
same. Like, I was wondering when's it going to like go into the Doom world now? They run over Homer. Who's that guy?
That's quite interesting answers. You both done answering?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, then, so that's it for Chat Cave podcast this week. Join me and Hayden next week as we drag James out of the cryo freezer again, as we discuss our second video game adaptation of the year, the Assassin's Creed movie. But until then, I've been your host, Ranking Thomas Hughes.
I want to watch Dora the Explorer. I want to watch Dora the Explorer.
And thanks for joining us, Connor. This has been a blast. It's been a very
Halloween special.
more funnier Halloween special than we thought it could have been. So yeah, this has been Chat Cave podcast. And Hayden, if you keep mentioning Dora, you're going to drive me crazy.
Yeah.
Here's Johnny.
That was awful, Tom.
It was pretty bad.
Like, you should kill yourself, honestly.